If you would like to hear one of my little stories of our beginning days,
Yes.
I could just relate a little something here. At that time, I was married to Kamalavati, sitting there. We expressed our desire to become actual householders. This was not encouraged at that time. But Kirtananda acquiesced, and I ended up getting a lifetime lease, on the property that is now the temple compound. And so we set up shop in a little old school bus. Kamalavati showed a movie on Mother's Day taken during that period. It was an old abandoned homestead of the original settler on this ridge, McCreary. And the log cabin was still standing after 200 years. And the barn was still standing as well, abandoned. I came here with a team of oxen that I was training from babies. And I got a cow. And we moved out here. We had a little baby. And it was not an easy life. The local people were not happy about the Krishnas moving up on the ridge. And at that time, there was a bar where Rupanuga now resides. It was called the Sky View Inn. And this is where the local rednecks were partying down. And they would all come and park at the site where the palace now stands. This was their party spot. And I was living down the road. Well, one day I was standing in the edge of the road building a fence, and I happened to look up. Now, Kirtananda had, wanted this one family that was living across from his desired spot for building the new development. We didn't know what that development was. It wasn't the palace at that time. It was just a place that he wanted to build a home for Prabhupada. So he wanted them people out of there. And so he had a sign put up across the road from their house showing a dark-complexioned couple or family standing in front of a high-rise apartment building right across the road from where they lived as a way to encourage their selling. Well, it happened to be, I saw this pickup truck pull up and the guys jump out and grab this sign and throw it in the back of their truck. And I had my post bar, I was putting a fence in. And Kamalavati was coming across the road. Well, where the lodge now stands was our garden. So she'd come across the road there. And she said, "Did you see that?" And I go, "Yeah. Those people up the road there, they just took that sign." And she said, "Well, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to let them just drive on by, or are you going to stop them, or what?" So I said, "Well, I'm going to stop them." So they come on down the road in their pickup truck. I just stood there in the road with my bar. And they tromped on the gas, and I got out of the way just in time, but I was just about to get run over. Wow. And I kind of felt that trouble might be brewing, okay? I yelled to Kamalavati to throw me the gun, okay, which was a sawed-off .22 with no bullets. Tossed the gun out to me. Okay, I'm standing here with this little .22. They jump out of the truck, these three guys with camis on.
What did it look like?
They were the local guys, two sons and the old guy, okay, and their father. Anyways, they jumped out. And I said, "Excuse me, but I was wondering if you could return the sign that I just saw you put in your truck." And they go, "We didn't take no sign. You know, you look like a troublemaker to me, and you're gonna get trouble today." Okay, and I go, "Oh boy, this is not looking good for the kid." He said, "We're the law around here, okay, and we don't take kindly to troublemakers, and we don't take no blank from nobody." Okay, I said, "Well, I just happened to see that you took the sign, and there it is in your truck. And I was just wondering if you could give it back. And they go, we don't take no shit from nobody. Whoops. I just came out. But that's what he said. And they just reached in the back of their truck. He pulled out a submachine gun and slammed this big clip into it. And the other two guys had M16s, okay? And he said, I'm counting to 8. We're going to cut you in half. And I just thought to myself, wow, that was a short life. Okay, we're wrapping this up. And I was trying to think of some kind of Vaishnava prayer that would help me think of Krishna at the last second of my life. Okay? And just about ready to give it up. And they just started counting. And I started chanting. And the way I wrote this story in the first Brisbazi Spirit, okay, and I remember writing, I had Krishna on my lips and they had whiskey on theirs. Okay? They were drunk as hell. Okay? And they were like, gonna kill me. So there I was. And he counted a few times. Then he goes, put your gun down, boys. He said, you know what? Could you use $10? This is what he said. He said, 1 second, I'm ready to be executed, and he's offering me $10. Wow. Okay. I said, as a matter of fact, I could use $10. He said, well, what would you do with it if I did give you $10? And I said, well, I just assume that you just give the sign back. And he said, well, I didn't take your sign, but here's $10. So what were you going to do with it? I said, well, I'll probably buy a pair of boots. And he goes, yeah, what about the wife and kids? Well, I'll get something for them too. Okay, in those days, $10 went a long way. Okay? Anyhow, that happened, and I said, well, that's very, very kind of you. Thank you. And I said, well, he took off. He just drove down the road with the sign. And I just kind of went back in the house and calmed down Kamalavati. She was like shaking and crying and chanting. And I looked at, they're coming back. They come back up the road. They stop and he gets out of the truck and he says, you know what? We did take your son. And we're sorry. If you want to give me your hammer and some nails, we'll hang it back up for you. Gee, thanks. That's really nice of you. And would you come in for a little bite to eat? And they said, well, that's right neighborly of you. Well, come on in. So we invited him in the house. Our baby was in there. And the baby saw them and he burst into tears. He was just like crying his eyes out. And the way I wrote it in my article, which was very corny back in those days, this was a long time back, I said, he cried because he could recognize instantly they weren't Vaishnava devotees. They were Karmi rednecks, and he wasn't happy with this. And so, but he said, I wrote in the article, as soon as he realized they were being sincere and asking nice questions about Krishna, he stopped crying and he was all right after that. So I wrote that. That was kind of nuts, but it was kind of like what I thought. So, yeah, they came in. We showed them how to offer prasad. We told them about the law of karma, which is if you kill any living entity unnecessarily, there's a bad reaction for that. Meaning me, okay. So they thought that was interesting. And they said, how could you show us how we can offer vegetables to the Lord? So they were very receptive. And they became friends, believe it or not, these guys. I said, well, what's your name? He said, just call us the Southern Rebels. Okay, that was their name. And Kamavati had taken their call numbers off their radio that was on their windshield to try to get, the authorities on their ass after this event. And he noticed they were written on the table on a piece of paper. He says, wow, your wife was very, observant to get those call numbers. And he said, that's fine, just keep them. I'm not ashamed of them. And he let us go that way. He said, by the way, I got a friend who's got a bunch of tools he wants to get rid of. So, well, could you use some? And I said, yeah, sure. And the next day he comes back with plants, tomato plants, hoes, shovels, rakes, and they were friends after that. So that was the story of the Showdown at Raivataka Mountain. We called our place Raivataka. So that was the Showdown. And just giving you an idea of what life was actually like here in New Vrindaban in those beginning days, okay? It was no picnic. Kamavati has told the story about how she was spending most of her time figuring out how to commit suicide. We were alone. Nobody came out to our end of the ridge. There was no internet. There was no cell phones. We didn't communicate. We just were out there, okay? And it was really something. You know, I'm surprised Kamavati lasted the 6.5 years of marriage with me. When she finally parted company with me, it took me an hour to read all the points of why she deserved a divorce, okay? Because she was dragged into a frontier lifestyle from living in Long Island, okay, with 5 silver spoons in her mouth, okay? This was a very big change for her, so I appreciate the fact that you did stay with me that long. And then later I met my present wife. She's been with me for 43 years. Okay, here is a woman that has tolerated me in my quest for bringing Prabhupada's dream into reality. Her name is Von Devi. Thank you. She has enabled me to do my service, and without her, I'd never been able to achieve what I've done in my life. So that's all I really have to say, and thank you very much.